Hello and welcome to the Kaizen Projekt. I am the Kaizen Man. Today I'm sharing with you the demonstration for how to brew beer right at home. If you haven't watched the video on the interview portion of it, click the link here. If you liked it, like a lot of you did and reached out and you wanted to see the demonstration, well, here it is. So go ahead and enjoy and get to brewing beer right at home.
We're going to go through a few of the basics for brewing. Everything that you see here, this is basically a setup to brew a 1 to 1.5 gallon size batch of beer, which typically will get you anywhere between 10 to 15 bottles of your final product over here. One of the things mentioned in the interview, cleanliness, hands down most important thing you can possibly do. Highly recommend Star San. It's a sanitizing agent. Concentrated, it's got a nice little measuring thing on the side here. Basically 1 ounce of this stuff gets you 5 gallons of cleaner. It does a great job. I haven't had a problem using this stuff since. One of the most important things also, Brew Pot. Don't need any specific kind. Any kind of pot will do. This one, I just had kicking around the house. Turns out, works very well for a 1 gallon batch size. Like we said in the interview, don't cheap out on equipment. Whatever you can afford, buy the best. Highly recommend the best thermometer you can possibly get. This here, digital thermometer with a decent readout on it. They're like 15 bucks from any brew store you can find. We tried brewing with a turkey thermometer for the first few times. That does not work. Don't do it. Go digital. A hydrometer. So a hydrometer, this is what's going to tell you what your alcohol content on your beer is. Basically how a hydrometer works is it measures the gravity of the liquid. Basically what happens is it measures the displacement of the water when you put this little guy into a tube of beer. What this is doing basically is measuring your sugar content. When you first put your beer before it's fermented into a fermentation tank, it's got more sugar in it because the yeast hasn't had the chance to eat any of the sugar yet to produce the alcohol content. Therefore, the liquid is heavier. When it's done fermenting, the liquid will be lighter because the yeast has gone through all of the sugar in your beer and turned it into alcohol. If you know the first number compared to the second number, you can figure out how much alcohol has been produced. This is just a very, very basic fermentation tank. All it is a bucket with a little hole on top and a one-way valve on it. Now the bucket isn't anything special. You can literally use any food-safe plastic bucket out there. You can even drill your own hole into it. Totally fine. The only thing you want to make sure is that you have an airtight seal around the top and that you have the one-way valve sticking out of it. Now the valve is made up of 3 parts. You have the main part here, which just has a hole going straight down into the bucket with this cylinder around it. You have this little piece right here, which sits on top of the hole, and you have your cap to put on top there. Now what the one-way valve does is it allows the gas that's produced from your beer to escape while not allowing any air to actually get into your beer, causing an unwarranted infection. This here is a glass carboy, very similar to this sucker here, only difference being this is used for your secondary stage of fermentation. So basically what happens is when you've left your beer for a week as it's fermenting here, you transfer what you have into a secondary fermenter here, allowing any of the sediment that collects at the bottom to be pitched. Let it ferment again for another few weeks, few months, however long you want to go for. And here you can also see where your beer is at. You can see if you're producing an infection, if you have too much activation going on, if you've got not enough going on in there. It allows you a little bit more control than a plastic tank. Finally, once your beer has fully fermented in there, you're ready to move on to bottling. Now with bottling, you need a few things. Number 1 being this little contraption here. This is called an auto siphon. It's like a gravity pump. So if I've got my beer sitting in my secondary fermenter here, I'm going to stick this into it, and by using the pump action in here, the beer will naturally flow through, and if leaving your bottles slightly lower, it'll top everything up a lot nicer than trying to pour it. Kappa. Just a very simple mechanism to push down on top of a bottle to hold the cap in place. Lastly, labeling. Any marker will do. I like Expo markers. They show up very nice. They're nice and opaque. They stay on very well. They're pretty resistant to any rubbing, stuff like that. There we go. Basics for brewing beer.
All right, there you have it. So now you know how to brew beer right at home. You have the interview portion of the video, and then today you have the demonstration video as well. So go ahead and start brewing, and make sure that you reach out to me. You can always use the hashtag, the Kaizen Projekt. That's project with a K, and I'd love to hear from you. As always, it's the Kaizen Man signing out.